In this section, we are done with Word and we are going to start using the software by Microsoft called Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Excel is basically it's a spreadsheet software, so it's a software that you're going to use if you're working with numbers typically. The example that we're going to be doing is here. I'll zoom in on that so you can see a little bit better. We're going to be creating this spreadsheet here. The great thing about Excel, the reason why I like to do it is because we can use what's called autofill to fill in several of these numbers for us. We can also use the functions and formulas that are built into Excel to do our math for us. So that way we're not having to manually add up these numbers. Excel's going to do our math, and Excel is one of my favorite programs to use. So we're going to be creating this spreadsheet and we're going to create the chart, which is super simple since Excel will do it automatically for us. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and open up Excel. You can see here you can start with a blank one. There is also several templates. Mine are not showing right now, but there are, let me hit try again. It may just be my internet at home. Here they come up. So these are templates, and at the end of the chapter, you are actually going to be opening 2 of these, and you're going to be playing around with them. So Excel has a lot of different templates that are pretty cool. They're already set up for you. So if you were doing a budget, maybe you could just fill this one in. Maybe you're doing an invoice. You can see up here, you can go through some things and see if one of these, if you want to do a chart, you can click on charts and it's going to give you some different templates. You can also search for something specific if there's something specific that you're looking for. So here's some fancy looking charts that you could do in Excel. Excel's already got it set up for you, so you're just going to plug in your numbers. We are, however, going to start with a blank worksheet or a blank workbook. So go ahead and click here on blank workbook, and it's going to open up for us. Mine's taking just a little bit here. Okay, so the first thing, whenever you look at this, you're going to see that just like in Word, we have a lot of the same tools. So we are still going to have our quick access toolbar, which you can customize based on the things that you want to do. Some of the most important things that I think are up here is the save button and the undo button. Those I really like to have. We also still have our ribbon. Our ribbon is our control center for the software. This is where we're going to find all of our fancy tools and buttons, and we've got all the different tabs just like we had in Word. These are a little bit different, but still basic same concept here. And sometimes whenever you're clicked down here, you're going to have different tabs that you have available to you. So you're going to see a bunch of boxes. And the boxes are called a cell. So this is where a column, which goes up and down, and a row, which goes across, intersect is called a cell. This is the same as whenever we worked with tables in Word. A column is labeled by a letter, and a row is labeled by a number. So sometimes you're going to hear us refer to going to the home row, or going to the home, to the home cell, or going home. So A1 is home. You can move around several different ways, so you can use your mouse and click where you want to go. One of the easiest ways to get home is if you press the Control Home button on your keyboard, Control key and the Home key on your keyboard, no matter where you are, it is going to take you to the home cell, which is A1. You're also going to see that you're in the right spot because it's labeled here in the name box field, and it's going to be highlighted here. This is going to be called your formula bar, and it doesn't necessarily contain formulas, but what you type in a cell will be showing up in your formula bar for you. So we can move using our arrow keys like this. We can up and down. We can use enter. When you're typing in a cell, for example, if I just start randomly typing, until I press the enter button, that information is not entered into the cell. It's just kind of floating there. Here you can see it's down here and it's up here, but I have not pressed enter to register that information. And if I just realized that I had accidentally typed in the wrong cell and I was typing over something, the easiest way to get that gone if you have not pressed enter is to hit the escape button on your keyboard. That's going to get rid of that. The default, just like in Word, is still Calibri 11, which you can change. And you will see here that we have these grid lines. And whenever you put your mouse over the grid line, like between the column names, column headings, you can actually get a double-headed arrow where you can resize your columns. You can do the same thing with resizing your rows. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be following this chapter pretty close to the book. There's a few things we're going to do different, but we will be pretty close. So we're going to start by giving our worksheet a title. So our title is going to be called Personal Budget Worksheet. And I have typed that in A1. Now, it looks like it's also, I'll go ahead and press enter to register it. It looks like it's also in B1 and C1. It is not. It is only in A1. If I click on A1 here, you can see it appear in my formula bar. If I click on B1 and C1, you can see it's not showing. That is because Excel by default uses what's called overflow. And so if it is too big to fit in the cell, it will overflow to the next cell unless there is something in here. So if I had typed something in B1, it's going to cut that off. Okay, we're not typing anything in B1, so we're just going to let that overflow for now. In row 2, right below it, we're going to type monthly estimates and press enter to record that information. Okay, we're ready to start labeling our columns. Our columns are going to go across. So we know that we need to have some income. So this will be our income section. We're putting that in cell A3. I'm going to hit right arrow. And then I want to put in the months of the year. So here's a secret for you. I'm going to type January. I can hit tab to move to the right. Type February. Tab. And then I know I want the rest of the cells. So I could have even stopped without typing February. You don't have to delete yours. But here's one of the magic secrets of Excel. If I put my cursor down here at the bottom right-hand corner of the cell, you see how I get that black plus sign or crosshairs? It's called the fill handle. I almost call it the magic fill handle because I feel like what it does is magical and saving time. So if I hold down on my mouse, now make sure you have the black plus sign here, and I drag across, you see how whenever I drag, it's got little boxes popping up. There's July, August, September, October, November, and December. Excel's saying, oh, I bet you really don't want January in every one of these cells. I bet you're wanting to list out all the months. So I drag through those. Whenever I get to where I want to stop, I just release the button and it's going to fill in for me. So that is something that's very, very handy to do in Excel. This does work in Google Sheets as well. However, I do believe you have to type 2 months so that Google Sheets can see your pattern. Now, they may change that, but in the past, that's what you had to do. Okay, so we got those typed. In cell N3, I'm going to go ahead and type the word total. And we're going to list all of our different types of income. Now you notice I'm not doing any formatting. I'm not making it look pretty because I like to wait until the end after I get everything in there to go back and do my formatting because I want to see how the whole thing is going to look. So for income, I know we have some wages. We also are going to get some dividends because we've made some investments. I'm just pressing enter to go down. Tab will take you across, enter takes you down. And then I'm going to have my total. So there's my income I get. We'll skip a line just to make it easier to read. And if we have income, we probably have expenses. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Down here at the bottom right-hand corner is your zoom. You can do this. You don't have to do this. See if it's going to do this for me. Okay, and I may have to drag so I'm there. Maybe that'll make it easier for you guys to see. If you're having a hard time seeing it, you can look at the picture in the book. That is on page EX, I believe it's EX2. You're going to be able to see those numbers in there. Now make sure whenever you're looking at that that you don't just go ahead and start formatting or just start typing in all those numbers, because there's a lot of numbers in there and we are not going to type even half of those numbers. I'm going to show you how to make Excel figure those numbers for you. Plus, if you type them in instead of having Excel do the math for you, you really didn't learn anything, and I'm not going to give you credit for that. So next, I'm going to list my expenses. You also might want to just look at page 9 in your book and figure 113. It's going to list all those out for you. So for expenses, we have to pay our rent. We have some food. Food. Where I'm having a hard time. Food, tuition, books, entertainment, car payment, gas, and miscellaneous. And again, we're going to have a total. So if you don't know what miscellaneous means, that means all that other stuff that really doesn't fall into a real category, such as maybe you got your mom flowers for her birthday. Okay. After total, I'm going to skip another row and I'm going to write the word net. Net is typically an accounting term or a finance term, and it means how much did you actually get. So in your pay, if you're looking at payroll, your net pay is how much did you take home. So here your net is going to be how much money do you have left at the end of the month after you have your income and you minus your expenses. Net is what you have left over. Okay, so now we are ready to start entering some numbers. You're going to notice here that some of these words, they are going way over here into the cell. So like entertainment, miscellaneous is going over here into column B. Whenever I start typing in my numbers for column B, it's going to cut those words off. So I was telling you earlier, you can make your columns wider. So if I come up here between A and B, I can just go ahead and drag that until that looks like everything's going to fit in here. I'm still not worried about what I put in my title because we're going to format that a little bit different later. Okay, so for January, looks like I get paid the same amount every month, which is $1,417.12. So I could type that in all these boxes across here, but I like to do the things the easy way. And so I can actually use my fill handle again and take those all the way across. That makes that easy. Dividends. I get paid dividends twice. So in January, I got $4,029.71. And I get the same amount in July. So I could type it, but I'm just going to use my copy button. So I can right click and copy. I can come up here to my copy, which is on my home tab, or I can Control C. I'm also going to come over to the month of July and I'm going to paste. So there's different paste options. We're just going to choose the very first one, which is your regular paste. Okay, so you can see here, this one here has what's called a moving marquee or the marching ants around it. That is telling you what you have copied. So right now that copied item is on my clipboard and I could paste it anywhere else in my spreadsheet. I don't want to, so to get rid of that, I can press escape and that's going to remove those moving marquee. So next in here, those are actually zeros. So instead of leaving them blank, because you shouldn't, it makes it easier to get off on a row, I'm just going to go through and I can type zeros in, or I can type 1 0 and again use my fill handle to fill the rest of them in, whichever way you find is easier. Look at that. We've already got all of our incomes listed. Okay, so let's go down and do our expenses. We're going to have rent. It looks like we pay $410 per month. I'm only going to start with January right now. I'll show you why here in a minute. Food, we spend $280 a month. Tuition, we spend $1,500 a month in January. Books, $500 a month in January. Entertainment is $100 every month. Our car payment is $215.47 every month. We spend $100 for gas and $100 for miscellaneous. So I said we were going to start with January. Now, most of these months, we pay the exact same thing. So what I'm going to do, I know rent and food we pay every month. So I'm going to highlight those two cells. Now to highlight, I have to use the white plus sign over it, or the white cross, and I just hold my mouse and drag down. Now, whenever you highlight, it always leaves your first cell that you've highlighted white. That's okay, because you know that where the green is what is highlighted. So I've highlighted those two. I will use the fill handle, take it all the way through December, and I have all those filled in. Okay, tuition and books will change, but entertainment, car payment, gas, and miscellaneous will stay the same every month. So again, I'm going to highlight those 4 cells. So I've highlighted B13 down through B16, and I'm going to drag those across to fill those in. Okay, so tuition, I paid $1,500 in January. I paid $300 in May because I took summer classes. And I had to pay $1,500 in August. Pretty good rates. For books, I had to pay $500 for my books in August. My summer books only cost me $100 in May, and in August it cost me another $500. Again, we have all these blanks, so we want to put zeros in there. So I'm going to put a 0 and a 0 for February. I can fill those across. And then I've got to type them again. So let me show you something else. I can highlight both of those, and I can use my copy button. I can paste, paste. I can just go through and paste those, and I pasted 2 at a time. So however you feel comfortable getting your zeros in there, whether you want to use the fill handle or copy paste or type, doesn't matter to me. Okay, we have pretty much done all the typing we are going to type on this spreadsheet. Now that was pretty simple, wouldn't you say? But we still have lots of things empty, like we still don't know if we have enough money. So that's where we're going to use the magic of Excel. So first of all, I want to find out, how much do I make each month? So what's my total income? So I'm going to do the math here. So you do not have to grab your calculator. But what I'm going to do is click where I want my answer to be. For this one, it's going to be in cell B6. And I'm going to come up here on my home tab to AutoSum. Yours maybe look a little bit different, but that's okay. So under AutoSum, if you click the arrow next to it, you get some different functions such as sum, average, count, max, min. So we're going to do sum, so I could click that once. I could also, because sum is at the top, click that AutoSum button one time, and that's going to make the sum. Now, whenever you click that sum, Excel's going to look at it and it's going to say, okay, I'm betting you're wanting to add the 2 numbers that are above this. Is that correct? So let me go through what you see here in your formula. Every formula in Excel starts with an equal sign. Then you're going to have what you want to do. In this case, we want a sum. And then in parentheses, you're going to put the area or the range that you're wanting to sum. So in parentheses, we want to start at B4. The colon means through, and we're going to end at B5. So we want to do a formula. That's what the equal says. We want to sum, and we want to sum B4 through B5. You'll also see that it highlights it for you, so you can easily look and make sure that what you're summing is the correct information. Press enter. Okay, we do not have to do that again for all the rest of the months, because we're going to do what? We're going to use the fill handle. Take that all the way through to December. Okay, so you should see that most months we got, the only income we have is $1,417.12, except for January and July. Those months are different, so double check those. So that was easy enough to do with our income. Let's come down here to our expenses, and we're going to do the same thing. Click where we want the answer, which is in cell B17. Hit AutoSum. It's going to assume we want to add up these numbers, which is our rent through miscellaneous. Because we have a blank here, Excel is thinking that we just want to stop there. That is true in this case. However, in some cases, that may not be absolutely true, so you do need to double check. So if we had left these zeros as blanks, it would not know to do that. So here we're going to do a formula. We're going to sum B9 through B16, press enter. So you should come up with $3,205.47. I'm going to use the fill handle and take those all the way across through December. Okay, let's come up here and let's do our totals. So we know how much we made in total wages and total dividends and total, how much we paid in total rent, food, etc. So I'm going to click in cell N4 where I want my answer, hit AutoSum. This time Excel is going to recognize that there's no numbers above what I'm doing, and it's going to want to add from the left. So I'm going to press Enter. Now, I want to show you what happens on the next one. So yes, we will use you can use the fill handle to take this all the way down. But I want to show you what happens if you have numbers above and to the left. Here I hit AutoSum. Oh, it worked for me. Let me try one more time. There we go. So here it's saying, do you want to add up these two numbers? Well, I could, or I could add across. It's going to give me the same answer. But if I wanted to add across and it assumes that I want to add up and down, to fix that, all I have to do is take my mouse and re-highlight and press Enter. And this time, if I double click on it, you can see that I added across. Okay, I'm going to press Escape to get out of that. Fill that all the way down. It put those zeros in for the blank rows. I'll just delete those out. Okay, we have all of those totals and our other totals. Now we want to find our net. So here we have to do a little bit of a formula. It's not a hard formula, but I told you before, if you want Excel to do a formula, we have to type the equal sign. That tells Excel we're going to do a formula. This time we aren't going to add, we want to subtract. So we want to take our total income minus our total expenses. So all we do is we typed equal, we point to what we want Excel to do in the math. So instead of typing in the actual amount, we just point to it and we say, Excel, look at the total in B6. Then minus, I type a minus sign. You can use all your punctuation or all your mathematical formulas, just like regular, minus, plus. The asterisk is times, and the slash is the divide sign. So B6, and we want to minus B17 from that. You will also see that it color codes it. So we know we want to take the blue cell minus the red cell. So it's kind of like algebra, but instead of assigning necessarily random letters to stand in on your formula, we are pointing to where we get that information. Press Enter. And so it looks like in January we come out pretty good. We have $2,241.36 left at the end of the month. Let's fill that all the way across. And you'll notice that in May and in August, we fall up short. But that's okay because we have saved ahead. So even though we're short in August, we had a surplus in July. And so at the end of the year, we actually have a surplus of $6,199.22. I guess I should double check that number with the book. And okay, that looks right. Now let me show you something. We basically have our worksheet done. It doesn't look pretty, but we have all the information that we need. This is the way it looks unformatted. Now, there's some major things here, like September. You can see it's cutting off part of the month. So what I'm going to do is take my cursor up here and I get the double-headed arrow. Now, I showed you earlier how you could drag that. You can also do what's called auto fit. And to do auto fit, I just double click with my mouse. So September is big enough. And it looks like over here I'm cutting off some characters. So I'll make column N big enough so I can show both of those characters. Okay. So we are actually, now we have it looking pretty good, but let's make it look more professional, I guess is the word for it. So something I do want to point out, because sometimes this does appear on your test, is, we have our font, our default font, which is Calibri size 11. You can change that just like you did in Word. The style, you could actually add styles such as making it bold. Your font size is going to specify the size of the characters, which is gauged and measured in a system called points. A single point is 1/72 of 1 inch in height. Okay. So a character with a point size of 10 is 10/72 of an inch, or by default 11, it's 11/76 of an inch in height. We can also choose our font colors here. So I know those are some things I just wanted to go over with you because they do sometimes appear on your test. So to change the cell style, just like in Word, we had styles that we can use. We have cell styles here. So I'm going to click on A1 to make it the active cell. You can either click on it or Control Home to go there. I'm going to go to my cell styles, which is here. I'm on the Home tab in the Styles group. Yours might look a little bit different. So Cell Styles. And I'm going to want, by default, we are on Normal. But I'm going to want the one that's called the Title Style. Here's Title. So I'm going to click Title Style, and it's going to format that in there for me. So now for B2, I want to make it, A2. Oh, we're not changing the style of it. Okay. So A2, we want to just change the font style to be Calibri Light. Oh, and my computer's slowing down. Might be a good time for us to save. So let's just go ahead and do File, Save, or Save As. It doesn't matter because we've never named this before. Let's go ahead. It won't matter which one we do, whether we hit Save or Save As. It'll still take us to the same Save As page. And we're going to name this. So put it where you can find your stuff. I'll just put mine here. We're going to name it EX1 for Excel Chapter 1. This is our personal budget. And I want you to put your initials. So EX1 for Excel Chapter 1, personal budget, and your initials. Make sure you're saving it where you can find it and hit save. Okay. Now that I've got that saved, now we'll come back here. I'm on cell A2 and we'll go ahead and see if I can change my font. My Excel was starting to freeze up a little bit and I wanted to make sure I got it saved before I lost anything. So we're going to change this to Calibri Light. So Calibri Light is right there. Again, Excel does have live preview, so as you're going through these, it shows you what it would look like live. We are using Calibri Light. Okay, we're going to go back to A1. We're going to make it bold, so hit the B button or Control B, just like in Word. And we're also going to make A2 bold. So we could have just highlighted A1 and A2 and then hit the bold button to make them both bold. You'll notice I pressed bold twice. That's because the first cell was bold already, so it was already set to make things bold, but this one was not, so I had to actually turn them both off so I could turn them on again. Okay, so A2, I want to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to change it to size 14, so here I can change my font size. Just like in Word, I do have my increase font size button, so I can use that one. And looks like we're going to change the color of A1, so I'm going to click on A1. Here I'm going to change my font color. It looks like we're going to pick this first orange that's available. If your colors are a little bit different, that's okay. Okay. And let's go ahead and do that with A2. We'll make it orange. Since we've already got orange here on our little paintbrush, kind of like, we see the orange here, we can just click the orange again. Okay, so we want to now take this title and drag and make it centered above our whole thing. So we go all the way to column N. So I'm going to highlight A through N. And instead of having all these little boxes, I really just need that to be one big cell. So just like in a road, whenever you have two lanes and they come into one, that's called merge. We're actually going to come up here on our home tab in the alignment area. We've got merge and center. So I'm going to click that. You'll notice now the lines went away, and this is all cell A1. There is no longer B1, C1, D1. Those are gone. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with row 2 and merge it. Now, I did have to do row 1 and row 2 separately because you cannot merge multiple rows. If I'm merging columns, I can only do one row at a time. If I'm merging rows, I can only do one column at a time. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, next, On row 3, we have our column headings. So I'm going to highlight those, which is income through the total, which goes through column N. Go back up to cell styles, and we're going to choose heading 1. Okay, you see that some of these now are not the correct size. Let's go ahead and do row 8. And I see something I forgot to do here, but we're going to go ahead and do the cell styles with the heading. Okay. So it looks like several of our columns are no longer fitting. So I need to go back through and just double click. I'm going to do them all so they are all the proper size. So I'm just double clicking to do the auto fit. I do want to show you, if you ever end up with numbers that look like the hashtags, that just means that your column is not wide enough. So don't freak out, just make your column bigger, okay? Do you guys see what I've done here? I listed the months up here, but I did not list the months here. So since we've already formatted it, I can just type in January. Let's enter to enter that information. Use my fill handle, drag it across, and type total. Okay, so that we get all of those in. Okay, so next, we are ready to come down here. Oh, let me see where I am in the book. That way I don't miss anything. Okay, so here you can see we don't have, we want to format our total row a little bit different. So I'm going to select A6 through N6. And I also want to go ahead and select A17 through N17. So to do that, because they are not touching, touching is called adjacent. So if something's touching, it's adjacent. If it's not touching, it's called non-adjacent. So to select non-adjacent cells, I simply select the first range, hold my control button on my keyboard, and select the second range. Now, if you have accidentally clicked somewhere else while you were holding control, you will have to just click off to clear all the selection and start again. And don't freak out again, because this, even though it's white, it is selected as part of that range. Okay, we're going to come back to cell styles, and we're going to choose the total style. This is an accounting style that's going to use double underlines. That's used in accounting quite often. So we're going to click that one because those are totals. It's going to put a line here saying we added, and that we have a double underline saying that we verify these answers should be correct. Okay. Next, we want to make things, sometimes whenever numbers are all jumbled like this, they're a little bit harder to read. So we're going to start by selecting A19. Oh, sorry, I missed one, the net row, A19 through N19. We're going to go to cell style on this one. And we want to choose accent 2, which is this orange gold color down here. Okay, next we're going to select A4 through N4. We also want A9, so hold your control key. We're going to grab row 9. Basically, we are highlighting every other row. We want the row with tuition on 11, the row with entertainment on row 13, row 15 with gas. Again, if you accidentally highlight something, you'll have to start over. So I've got wages, rent, tuition, entertainment, and gas. And we are going to do those accent 20%, accent 2, 20%. So cell styles, accent 2, 20%. So it's just a light orange color. Okay, then we're going to grab the others. The dividend row on row 5. Food is on 10. Books on 12. Car payment on 14. Miscellaneous on 16. And we're going to make that one a little bit darker, so it's going to be accent to 40%. Cell style, accent to 40%. So there's a little bit of a variance between those, which makes it easier to read. The next thing that's going to make it easier to read is if we format these numbers. So you see some of them have decimal places, some of them don't. We don't have any dollar signs representing dollars. So when we are formatting numbers according to accounting style, you put dollar signs on total rows and top rows. So I'm going to highlight all the numbers that are in row 4, hold my control key, all the numbers in row 6, all the numbers in row 9, row 17, and row 19. So I have now highlighted the numbers in wages, total, rent, total, and net. And to add a dollar sign to this, it's really simple to do. I'm going to come on my home tab up here to the number area, and I'm going to click the dollar sign. This is the accounting number format. It's going to add dollar signs. It's also going to make sure that everything has 2 decimal places. Okay. Another way to adjust your decimal places is here with an increased decimal and a decreased decimal. So now I need to highlight every number that I did not add dollar signs to. Again, hold your control key. This time we're going to apply the comma style. So it is going to give everything 2 decimal places, but it is not going to put dollar signs because too many dollar signs makes things hard to look at. Okay, so some things I want to clarify. These zeros change to dashes. That's okay because that is an accounting style. A lot of times zeros are written as dashes. Also down here, you see the months that we came up short. Those are negative and they're written with a parentheses because that's an accounting style. Another way to write a negative number in accounting is to make it red. Okay, so we're just going to double check. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Make sure that all your columns are the correct width. All your words are showing. You don't have any hashtags anywhere because I will count off on those. Okay, just still going through. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit the save button again. Next, we're ready to do that chart. We have our worksheet done. Now that was pretty simple, I think. I hope you agree. So we're ready to add our pie chart. There are many, many different charts that Excel has built into it, and it's super easy to add the chart. The most important thing is just to remember what it is that you want to put into your chart. So we're going to select A9 through A16, which is all of our expenses. We want to chart our expenses. We want to see where our money goes. So I started at rent and went down to miscellaneous. Now remember, rent is not gray, but it is still selected. Then I need to come over here and I need to get my total. The important thing is you need to get the corresponding numbers. So I'm going to hold control and grab these. Okay. When you're doing a pie chart, you typically want a label and a number. I would not highlight everything to put it into a pie chart. And if I was doing a bar chart, I would only highlight the months probably and not my totals because that's going to be double information. Okay, so then we just go to Insert, and we have our chart area here. There's several charts to choose from. You can actually choose recommended chart, but we just want a pie chart. So I'm going to click on pie, and I want a 3D pie chart. And there is my chart, all fancy. If your chart came out with no chart, chances are you have highlighted the wrong information. Go back and double check that. I didn't know where to put our chart, so we just put it right there in the middle of our spreadsheet. We actually are going to move our chart to its own page. So with the chart selected, meaning all the information on the outside, you actually have your sizing handles, things like that are selected. So up here, I'm going to go to Move Chart. I now have 2 new tabs, Design and Format. Move Chart. I want to make it a new sheet, and we're going to name it Monthly Expenses. And hit OK. Do not do Object in a sheet. We actually want it to be a whole sheet. It's going to take up the whole sheet. There's no other room left for it. Okay, so it moved it over here. You will see now we have two tabs. This whole thing is called a workbook, just like if you got a paper workbook at school, and each page in it is called a worksheet. So we're on the monthly expenses worksheet. We want to change our title to something that makes sense. So if I double click in my title, it will highlight the whole thing, and I'm going to type monthly expenses. Do not hit delete because you'll delete out your title. You can, however, add it in with adding a chart element if you accidentally do delete it out. So we've got monthly expenses. Okay, next we can have a different style. Up here you see lots of styles. So if you click on these, it's going to show you different ways that your chart can look. Some of them add percentages in, some of them are darker. I don't care which one you do. I'll just go ahead and do that one. But it doesn't matter to me which one you choose as long as you choose one of the chart styles. Okay, down here we do have our chart element that tells us what all the different colors means. And on mine now it's popping up here. Oh, one other thing, up here back to your title. So we have monthly expenses as our title. I would like for you to put dash and then put your name. So if you will put your name up there on your chart title, that would be great. Okay, so down here, let's go back down. We have our monthly expenses, which is our chart. Let's click on sheet 1, which is going to take us back to our spreadsheet. And we're actually going to rename this one, so I can double click it. And we're going to call it monthly. Oh, wait, I labeled those wrong. Let's go back here. Double click. That should not be monthly expenses. We actually want to name it monthly expenses chart. Okay, then come to sheet 1, double click. You can also right click to rename, and we're going to name that one monthly expenses. It will not let you have two tabs with the same name. Okay, click off of those. Now you can see them. If you want them in a different order, for example, we want monthly expenses first, all you have to do is click and drag it. You see the little piece of paper? I put it in front of the chart, and now this one's first and this one's second. I can also change the colors of those. So if I right click on the tab, I can do tab color and I can change my tab colors. I don't really care what colors you guys are choosing. Okay, and that is just about it. Go ahead and hit save again. We're going to do a couple more things that are not necessarily in your book. So something else I want to show you is we can set another way to change our colors is by changing the theme. So just like in Word, we can change a theme. That's going to be on my computer's going to go faster. The page layout tab. Oh, and it looks like maybe I crashed. Give it a second. Oh, there it comes back. Page layout, I could choose a theme. So if you are doing this for your business and maybe your business has set colors, for example, if we were the school, maybe I should quit clicking on mine, but you have different themes you can set up. You can also customize your theme so that you have that for you. So here's some different themes. And if I clicked on this, it's going to change my font. It's also going to change my colors. So we're not really going to choose one of those right now, but just so you know that that option is there, because it may ask you for that in your assignment, in your homework. So another thing we can do up here, this little gray box between the A and the 1, this is your select all button. So you can click it and that would select everything. But just like in Word, you can press Control A, oops, on your keyboard, and it is not doing it. Huh. So typically Control A will select everything too, but this is definitely your select all button. We are going to make another tab. So we have our monthly expenses, and we want to copy this. So there's two ways we can do that. One, we can highlight everything and copy, and then we would hit this button here to make a new sheet. and we could paste. But let me show you another way to do it. We can right click on the monthly expense tab. We can go to move or copy. We want to create a copy, so be sure you check mark here and hit OK. So there you see, I now have, let me delete the sheet 2 that I created. I just right click on it and go up to delete. I have monthly expenses 2. So it is an exact duplicate of my monthly expenses. I'm going to drag this one all the way to the back behind the chart, and I want to rename it revisions. Okay? Because let's say we want to look ahead for next year, and we know that our tuition is going up. And maybe next year our tuition is going to be $1,800. So I'm going to come here to cell B11 and type 1,800. And I know my books are going up to 800. Okay. In May, my tuition is going to be 500, and I'll probably spend 200 on books. And then in August, my price will be 1,800 and 800 on books. So you can see then what happens to our final number. If maybe I need to cut out some expenses somewhere, if I need to try and find some more money somewhere, what exactly I need to do for that. Okay, so also let's go back to the monthly expenses tab. We can actually use an auto calculate to determine a max. So I showed you up here on the home tab that there is an AutoSum, and under AutoSum there is a max. But maybe we don't want it necessarily to print on our spreadsheet. We just want to be able to see it. So here's what we can do. When we highlight numbers, we can actually have the max come down here. So we're going to click on this where it says display settings. Oh, no, not that one. So something has changed. Let's actually, okay. Once I highlight my numbers, so let's say I want to know which month I had the most expenses in. I can highlight, I'm going to highlight here, B17 through M17. I did not include the total because that would throw my max all off. Down here you can see what my average is, how many numbers were involved, what my maximum amount was, what the sum of those numbers were. And so that's just a little easy way to determine some quick things just looking at it. Okay, hit save. Okay, I'm going to go back to File, and this time I want to go to here is my properties. So just like in Word, we do have properties. If I hit that arrow, I can do advanced properties. And we can actually title it. So this is not, here's our title, but here's a summary. So we can just change some things here. So we can title this. This is our, let's call it Chapter 1. I don't know. The subject is Excel. Your name should be in the author. You could actually add in keywords. Maybe my keywords is, I'll type budget, comma, Excel. Maybe I'll put a 1 so that I can find my file later if I need to. Some statistics, you can see when it was created, modified, accessed last. Contents, there's not really much there except it shows you what your worksheets and charts are, and then you can actually set up some custom things if you want. So I just wanted to show you that that was all there. We're going to hit OK. Going to go back home. Oops. And hit save. And that is it. So for your homework, you will be doing 2 assignments. You are going to be doing lab 2, which is on page EX55. This is a sales analysis worksheet. Basically the exact same thing that we just did. Make sure that you do use all the formulas. You do not just type in the numbers because that is going to be counted wrong. It will give you the worksheet in figure A and the pie chart in B so that you know what it's supposed to look like. But use those, what it's supposed to look like as a guide while you follow all the instructions. Don't just look at it and make it. Be sure that you follow the instructions that go along with it. You do not have to answer the question number 9 that is actually asking you a question on step 7. It's going to be, say, if requested by your instructor. Typically those, just assume that your instructor requests it. Usually it's like change change a word in somewhere. So then your third file you're going to be turning in is one of those templates. Two of those templates, you're going to open them up, put in some information. It doesn't have to be detailed. It doesn't have to be complete, but just to see that you have played with it and that you know what you're doing. So that is all of Excel Chapter 1. Let me know if you have any problems.